The environment you have is what the food provided there, and so that's what your body craves for because you're used to eating it. I love my lifestyle. I love the lifestyle our parents lived.
We had no problems getting oysters because they're along the riverbank, and we lived on fish, oysters, mud crabs. When we were kids, we used to go down to Kerosene Bay, and we'd have a big stick of the mangroves or the cottonwood trees. And when you see this sign where there's a crab, you used to just, poke that stick down into the hole, and sure enough, you'd feel it grab hold of the stick, and then you pull it out, and there's a nice big mud crab. And the same with prawns, we just went down to Kerosene Bay and we got a bucket full of prawns if we wanted them, but we only used to just take what we wanted. So and pippies, that was the main food, I think, because we can always get a feed of pippies.
To my knowledge, a lot of the old fellas, they were living off the sea too. 80% at least of their diet come from the sea, and that's pretty much similar how it is today.
I grew up in Shire, and family back then was based around collecting and gathering and fishing and the salt water side of things.
Well, Pop owned the oyster lease there, had the oyster lease, so he had a little shed out the back of Nan's place there, always opening oysters. Oysters were always on, but can I eat oysters today? No. Don't like oysters, and pippies. Oysters, pippies, all the seafood, yeah. Well, they were all fishermen out on the beach all the time, or in the river. So you had your seafood, oysters, pippies, fish. We always had prawns. They would bottle up the oysters and sell at the local pubs.
Dad used to go oystering on the river, go up the Blue Hole and go diving for oysters. And he used to do that, and he used to eat everything of the fish, like the eyes, everything. Ugh.
Like I told you about the graduation of the oysters, like going around picking a stone up, flicking the lid, and then I said, we had that oyster knife. We graduated even before we got to kindergarten. We could flick a lid with an oyster knife. Like I can get oysters into me all year. I can get mud crabs, fish and prawns, but I yearn, I crave for that. I need a pippy in my body.
We ate periwinkles and cockles. But what we used to do with Mum, because she never ate the pippies, but she drank the juice. So we used to do it soup-like, and just added the onion, potato, and that's all, and tomato, that's it. So because she couldn't eat it. But she told us those pippies were for our brain, eh? Yeah, they were, to help the brain system, yeah.
And also I'm commercial fisherman, but I only catch beachworms. So we have lots of one of the best officers in the world down the beach, and you always come across pippies and that, and you don't have to dig for them if you know what you're looking for on the beach with our pippies.
Well, our stable diet was fish, mainly crabs, pippies, oysters. Growing up here in salt water, and we caught our bait and went fishing most of the time, and there were stacks of food. Well, the fish, they had their seasons, the whiting in the summertime, then you had the sea mullet sort of around Easter. They'd come just after summer. Then you'd have the tailor, all different seasons. Bream in the winter. I know they got fresh fish and that in the creeks and that up the river, up in the mountains and that there, the pools and that. They got perch and all that sort of stuff, but we didn't bother too much about that. We had plenty here, didn't have to go far.
Okay.
Pipi fritters, oyster fritters, we'd cook. Yeah, pretty good stuff. I've got some oyster fritters there now, matter of fact. I had some for breakfast, and I'm going to have some more later. As kids, we used to eat the midgeons, the little white berries. Yulies, they call them, or pig faces, we used to eat from the beach. And then we also we trapped bandicoots. So that's, growing up here, that's what we did. Birds, yeah, those parrots were pretty good eating. And the birds, ibises, spoonbills, they were a lot cleaner back those days, but we ate them. Brothers used to bring home some of them bush turkeys. There wasn't a lot of bush turkeys here like there is now, but they used to bring them home from out the farms where he worked, in the bananas. He used to bring home the bush turkey. We had plenty of food. We didn't go hungry here. The old midgeons were pretty good stuff. I don't know what they're called in the modern slang, but the little white berries we used to gather at the bush and put them in a jar and make sandwiches out of them, medium sandwiches.
Well, I remember where the backyard was, and it's at a hill, and as we went over the hill, there was bluebells. Used to eat those a lot. Lily pillies, not far, because there was fresh water down below, and then where the fresh water was the yams, and I loved those yams. I still have the taste of it in my mind, and they were little brown coating, and when you squeezed the brown off them, there was a white, like crunchy, like onion, looked like an onion, and that's what I ate as, and they called them yams. So, and the sour nuts, I like those. They're still growing today. But the yams, because of the fresh water, the brackish water has gone, so I don't see them anymore. So, but the bluebells and the lily pillies, if they're growing, I eat them. So, which is good.
Yeah, apart from eating all the seafoods and everything, we had our, well, I say our fruits. We had the midgeons. We had the newlies off the beaches. We had the freshwater cherries. We had the sour nuts, and we had the blueberries. Remember the blueberries that used to be about that big, and the trees were all over Fingal?
Look, bunning, bush turkey. Well, not bush turkey here and there, but yeah, those are the main ones. Goanna. Yeah, not. It was only sort of seasonal. We didn't sort of hunt them every day, kind of thing. But the bunning was just, we cooked in the oven and had like a baked dinner with other veggies. Goanna, I think we cooked it on a fire.
When I was a young fella and I was going to high school, first week at high school, we were all out in the playground, and we used to do that thing that kids do. You know, all get in a circle and go around the circle. What do you got for lunch? What do you got for lunch? And all want to see what everyone else had. And, you know, some kids call it trading time. And they were going around that circle, and they got to me and they said, "What do you got for lunch?" I said, "Oh, I've got a bunning sandwich." And they said, "What?" And I said, "You know, bunning sandwich." They said, "What's a bunning?" I said, "You know what a bunning is?" And they said, "No, what's that?" I said, "It's a porcupine, echidna." And you know, they said, "Oh, what does that look like? Why do you eat that?" And you know, they all looked at my bread. I think they thought spikes were going to be sticking out through the bread, how they were all looking at it. And I had to deconstruct my lunch before it was a cool thing to do.
Oh, no, we all up in Chester's, Horseshoe Fall and Springbrook. Yeah. Have TI fellas and all that thing. and there's one white fellow with us, see? And great thing was this high, we had brush hooks, you know. Got it in the little, next thing this bandicoot ran out. All us black fellas, and we all laughed, these white fellas didn't know what to be chasing, eh? And we got it. Tony Murama went up, got a shovel, come back, we cleaned the shovel up, and the horseshoe pool came, you know, like a horseshoe, see? And the water pool came straight down the middle, cleaned it up, and somebody, I don't know who skinned it and that, and cut it up, and he got tomato, curry and everything, cooked it up in the, you know, and we ended it.
Used to go up with the cemetery with Nana Slock and them and pick midgeons from up the cemetery up there at Chindra, or the Kudgeon Cemetery they call it these days. Bring them home and then we'd have them with ice cream. We also got the natural indicator plants, you know, things that our calendar that we use for different, you know, might have been the mullet that are coming up the coast when the banksias come out in flower, or the hairy grubs get around the base of the wattle trees. Yeah, it's quite interesting how everything sort of ties together. And hill there, we used to go get taro out of the creek there on a farm that Sullivan's owned, and we'd dry it out and send that to markets as well, but we'd eat a lot as well. Oh, I was probably only about 5, yeah, I would have only about 5 or 6, I think, when he'd be woken up early in the morning, chucked in the car, and we'd wake up out at Wuyong. This is when the sun was coming up. There'd be me and my sister in the car. And we'd wake up mum and dad and then and pop and all and uncles and all them. They'd be down the beach worming. And we'd have to hop up, and used to hop up and look around in the bush there, and there used to be all these native raspberries that used to grow there. We'd hop out and have a feed of them before we'd wander down to the beach.
No, but we always got told that our dad's philosophy was like, don't plant anything you can't eat. So we grew up in a backyard with mangoes, peach trees, gooseberry trees, mulberry trees, bananas, everything. Like, we didn't have to go far for a feed, and we had the river one end and the ocean the other end of the street. So, and the grandparents were fishermen and lived on farms. So like, I was only saying it was like, 10 years back, I said I never ever thought that I'd be paying for tomatoes, sweet potatoes or any vegetable, because no matter where I lived on the Tweed, when I came home from anywhere, there was always fruit and veggies on my doorstep. I get the taro replanted, teach us all that. Watercress, used to go out there and get the watercress out that way. I always loved it, like, mum and dad always said, you got a brain, why don't you go and do something? I said, I want to do what our people done. I want to do the hard yards, do the blood, sweat and tears, and prove to myself and respect them more by getting out there and doing it. I said, our family bought homes picking peas and beans, and like you said, we travelled away, do the grape seasons, and it was the cherry season and the peach seasons and all that, going down to Griffith, all the families that went out to Young and that. But like, we used to go to the Moolumbar railway station and go to the freight end of the train, and the families would send boxes of grapes and boxes of cherries and boxes of peaches and everything, whatever we want, fresh apples and everything straight from the farm into Moolumbar, and we'd be like going home with boxes full just for that Christmas or that winter or whatever was on. We were getting it no matter where the family were in Australia.
Used to have taro and sweet potatoes. We used to eat them raw. Not cooked or anything, just raw. Mangoes and, what do you call them? Guavas. They've got a Hawaiian guava there, a big round white one, and a yellow. We ate all of those. And sarsaparilla, you ever had the sarsaparilla, the spiky ones that go up the tree? It had the leaves there and put them in salads. Yeah. So, but it was the red fresh leaves. Yeah, well, I still eat them anyway. Put them in the salad. And the nasturtiums, used to have those in our salad. Whatever fruit was there, we lived and we were satisfied, you know. And it was freedom for us. We didn't have to pay anything. We just, there hardly any food in the house. We went out in the yard, in the field, and ate.
Between our place and the beach, it used to be like a bit of a holler, and it used to be wetlands. And we had our own little taro patch in there, so we were right for taro. You know, we had, that was, everybody loved taro, and everybody used to use it. And it was a plant where once you got one, you always got it. Yeah. Mum used to go, you know, or when we were old enough, we used to go out in the paddocks too, you know, and pick beans, peas, tomato, sweet potato, you know. So there was not a problem there because we can always bring home a feed from there.
And then it was always the seasonal work, so we'd travel down to Mildura, down to the grapes every season. And then locally, beans, peas, and the tomato farms that were all around here. So we'd have our family farms that we'd all work on. So when I thought I was old enough to leave school and thought I knew enough, my first job was out on the P&B paddock, picking, yeah. It was a hard way to make a living. I was only driving past there yesterday and I said to my son, Malachi, see all that land now? That was where our families picked beans, peas, tomatoes out there. Nan had her own sweet potato paddock, patch behind Pop's oyster shed, and so we always had sweet potatoes on hand. The purple, the red one, and the white one, so she had all those growing locally. She even had this big cane thing there in the middle of the yard that would always get snakes. Or we all had the guava trees down home, all had pawpaw trees, yeah, so you always had the fruits down there as well. And then someone would be working on a banana farm, so you'd have your bananas as well, yeah.
Most of our family and that were involved in seasonal work because during the wet season here at the start of January, February and March type thing, there's a mass migration from the Tweed down south, at either going down to Shepparton, way down to Mildura, Robinvale, to those places where you had grapes and stone fruits and stuff for the year. And most of our fellas up here had spent probably 2-3 months down that way because it was a wet season here, couldn't work, there was no veggies growing, cane was just too wet, so they'd actually migrate and all went down and come back home.
Sugar cane, used to cut cane. Yeah, tomatoes also was another main, what they used to pick, you know, tomatoes. And we used to get lots of tomatoes. When we'd work out on the farms, we'd get, you know, unlimited fresh vegetables and stuff. Sweet potatoes and stuff like that, watermelons. So we had a whole range of stuff. We didn't have to go to supermarkets to get it. We got it all around the place. And everything was shared, you know. If somebody got a quantity of something, more than enough for themselves, they'd share with the community. That was part of living in this community, you know, the Indigenous, Aboriginal community. Somebody got a stack of fish, everybody had fish. And so on, you know, they got all the fruits and stuff they'd share. Then again, we still practice that. Today, we got a lot of fish, everybody gets fish. Well, you know, most people that we know around in the community now, a lot of people have gone, but most that are here, we share our catch with them. we might pick up a heap of fruit or vegetables from somewhere, and we'd bring them home and share with the community. It's part of our culture, I suppose.
But all the food that was cooked, it was always big dishes that were made to feed a lot of people. There was nothing too small ever cooked. It was always big meals, and everybody ate the same dish pretty much at every meal.
I love the old way. And all our elders along here, they fed us. Regardless whether we were naughty kids or not, they fed us. If you didn't have it, they knew. And so they'd give you a little piece of bread or, you know, something. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's the beauty of this community. Yeah. So that was why all our grandkids now bring us food, because we're getting on in those ages, and we don't do those things anymore, go chasing the food, you know.
Always a curry. Always a curry.
I like eating curry peppies, the main, because the taste is still there. From when you're growing up, it leaves a taste in your mind that, you know, every time I just acknowledge that, because my mother, when she was getting sicker, she craved for those, and when she got it, she was satisfied. You know, she was happy, pleased, and it changed that atmosphere for her of her well-being, really.
I'll cook a curry for myself here. I'm here by myself, but I'll still cook a curry. It might last me about 3 or 4 days to eat it all, but I'll make it.
Curry chicken all the time. Curry fish, curried everything. Bully beef curry. So a lot of curries, because we have a big family. We have big food, you know.
Like bully beef and probably chicken curry, or any of those stews or casserole kind of dishes. They're always good. And but yeah, the bully beef, you can't have the bully beef without having the fried scones. So the fried scones, they're always, I think any stew or the curry always had the fried scones with it, and then the stews always had a dumpling in there, and I think that's just to make it go a bit further, fill you up a bit quicker.
I think my fondest is curry, and curry whatever. It was curried fish, it was curried chicken, curried whatever. And Pop was the best curry cooker in our family, yeah. And I would watch him, yeah.
Oh look, Mum used to do lots of cooking and stuff, and she'd make something out of virtually nothing. But she'd make really mean curry pippies.
Curries and curry was one of my main feeds. We curry everything, you know, fish, meat, whatever we get.
I mean, I always said Disneyland for us was Dad packing us up in the middle of the night, taking us down the road with a hot milo, went a picnic on the side of the road in the middle of the night and watching the cane burn. And to have that on your doorstep as a lolly was just heaven. It was just heaven. It was all just cut off in little sticks. You'd just go up, sit on the end of the stair and just chew on it. Just like our syrup and dumplings. All that sort of stuff. Like, might sound like poor man's foods, but we still hang for that every day.
Mine is pippies, naturally. Yeah.
Still the bread pudding, rice pudding, yep, definitely. Nan was all Pop too. They both they cook the bread and rice puddings, and I'll still make them today.
Oh, I can't go past the curries. I got to say curry. Oh, I like curry sausages, and that's my favourite, I think. Apart from the pippies, damper and fried scones was another favourite. Always had, you know, if anything was happening or anything, even now, you know, if anything's happening here, you know, family dues or anything. Oh, Mum, you cook the damper, you know, even now. Or fried scones. Fried scones, you could never ever cook enough of them.
Yeah, one of my favourites was, I'd have to say, the old bully beef curry. That's always good, and that's kind of, I still cook it today. You know, it's probably not that good for you, the whole bully beef, but it's something that I love, something that I always enjoyed, and that's kind of reflection of those times that back in the, you know, the times when the old people were here, they were eating the bully beef. You know, they weren't getting fresh meat very regularly. Only the seafood, they'd get the fish and stuff, but and the crab, but the bully beef was something that they'd always make.
Different curries, yeah.
Which one?
Probably the sausage curries. I love sausage curry. And chicken. I rang Mum. I said, Mum, what do you want for dinner? She goes, oh, go to the fish shop and get me a piece of mullet, crumb mullet, and 5 chips. I said, Mum, I cannot order just 5 chips. Yeah, you can, because that's all I'll eat. What? No, you gammon.
Fish. The fish I like is mullet. That's my favourite fish.
Well, I can eat fish every day if I can get it, and I pretty much do.
I like the hare better than the rabbit. I didn't like rabbit.
Yeah, probably butter chicken.
Yeah, no, that's it.
With naan bread, that's all.
Best thing I've ever eaten would be, for me, I like ramen noodles, pork ramen noodles. They're good.